And today we are bringing in our friend John. John, how are you doing today? Good. Well, I appreciate you taking some time here to chat with us a little bit about your service. Obviously, serving in the military is something that not everybody does, and you made the decision to go ahead and do that. So before we talk about the reasons why maybe you said, I want to serve our country, let's talk about the actual branch of military that you served and maybe your term of service.
All right. I served from 2003 to 2010 in the Army.
Okay, and that's 7 years of service that you did there. And with that, did you serve more so stateside? Did you end up being deployed? How did your service work there?
Well, I only spent 4 years in the States. I seen Iraq, Kuwait, and then the rest of my time overseas. Well, it wouldn't really be overseas; it'd be Hawaii. Schofield was where my first duty station was. And then 4 years out of Fort Bliss.
There you go. Hawaii, not so bad, huh? That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I said Hawaii is not
a little bit.
Sorry, you're good. I said Hawaii is not so bad, right? That's okay. It's an okay place to go.
Yeah, Hawaii was an awesome first duty station as a 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, right. Well, let's talk about that moment that you decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to serve our country. I want to be in the military. What happened? How did that happen for you?
Really, all right. So background is my birthday is September 11th. On my birthday is when 9/11 happened, obviously, and it was kind of after that where I started looking towards it, and I brought it up to my father at that point, and he pretty much gave his okay to do it. So I joined in 2003, right after graduation.
Wow. And obviously very personal on your point, and your having the blessing of your parents is obviously extremely important. What about your friends? What did your friends say to you when they found out, this is what I'm doing, I'm serving our country?
A couple of them actually joined after I had joined, a couple years down the road. Really, that the group of people I was with at the time, we all kind of went our separate ways after high school. Like I said, I mean, right after graduation, I'd already signed up 2 weeks prior to graduation and joined what was called the delayed entry program, and then graduated there the first week of June and shipped out the third week of June.
Wow. So it all kind of happened fairly quickly from that process, I suppose.
Yep.
So
oh, yeah.
with your service over there, what is maybe a highlight, something that you, when you reflect back on, you're like, I'm really glad I did this. This is a really cool opportunity for me.
Well, I mean, getting my first orders, getting out of AIT, and everyone's getting their orders. And the group I'd gone through AIT with, the majority of those guys went to Korea, and I was the only one who wound up going to Hawaii at the time out of that group. So that was awesome. Obviously I was real young at that point. I'd only been to Hawaii. I think I was there a couple of months, and we got our first set of deployment orders to go to Iraq. And I was young, I wasn't 19 when I deployed, so that was kind of an odd experience for a young guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Getting those orders saying, "Hey, we're going to now send you over here," obviously is something that I'm sure probably kind of stopped your heart for a second, but your training and everything that you went through, I'm sure kind of, came into action and said, okay, I prepared for this. They've trained me for this as much as you can. From the places that you've been in your military service, have you had the opportunity to go back as a civilian to go and visit, or would that be something that you'd be interested in doing?
I have not had a chance to go back yet. We were going to try and do something this summer and go out to El Paso, where Fort Bliss is. That's where my oldest was actually born while I was still in the Army. But I've not been back to any of the bases or anything like that yet. And obviously, I've not taken a vacation to Iraq.
Yeah, yeah, not exactly a vacation hotspot at this point, right?
No, no, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Talk to me a little bit about what it was like for you being in the military. You mentioned having a child and trying to start that family while on base. What was that like?
Um, it was different, that's for sure. So my wife and I have been together since 2003. We married in 2004, real young. Um, our firstborn was born in 2008. At Fort Bliss, when my wife went into labor, we just come back out of the field training at White Sands. Um, he was every bit of 10 days old, and I was right back out to training, and my wife was left home with him. So I didn't really get to see too much of him as a baby. I was always in and out, in and out, in and out. And that was kind of one of the determining factors of why I got out. Um, I mean, a lot of guys are lifers with families, and that's something I don't think I could have done.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do, especially, you mentioned multiple kids, having multiple children going through that. You experienced it with one of yours, going through that conversation with family as the mindset. Is the military kind of a background in your family? Do you have anybody else in your family that has that, or have you, talked with your children about, service?
Yeah, I've got a cousin who was in the army at the same, well, roughly the same time as I was. He was in a little before me. I have an uncle who's still serving. Um, my grandfather on my mother's side, my uncle on my mother's side, both served. Um, I mean, it wasn't really like a family tradition by any means. It's more or less happenstance, I would suppose. But I mean, it was just something that I felt like, I wanted to do. I felt like I could do something better than sit in New Troy, Michigan and do nothing.
That's true. I mean, and you've had the opportunity, obviously, to see a lot of things and travel a lot of places. You also said that you got out, and the determining factor was your family. Is there a potential, we'll say, where you thought about and you considered, hey, maybe I can pull this out again a little bit longer, re-sign, and if we have another child, that's going to be it. Did you ever think about extending your tour of service?
We did talk about it, um, quite a bit actually. We talked about it. Um, when he was born, I still had 2 years left on my contract. I had reenlisted in Iraq for the tax-free bonus money. What young man's not going to say yes to a bunch of money tax-free?
Right.
Um, we talked about it and talked about it. And at that time, it just seemed kind of like the direction that the army was heading versus the direction that we wanted to head. Just it didn't mesh. So um, we wound up getting out.
Yeah. Family first mentality when it comes to certain situations like that is never obviously a bad thing. Let's talk about other people who've served. Obviously, being younger gentlemen yourself, you and I are in the same age range. Looking back on those veterans, like Vietnam veterans, right, or even Desert Storm veterans, what, as a current military or a veteran yourself, what kind of a respect level do you have for those individuals that served in those different conflicts?
Oh man, a ton of respect for a lot of those older guys. Vietnam, Gulf War, Kosovo, Bahrain, any of those guys. It takes a lot of those guys and gals. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to do something like that, for lack of a better term. Some people are born naturally crazy and love that sort of chaos in life, and others purposely sign up for it, and that's what they do. But I have a ton of respect and love for all of those vets.
Yeah. Now, I like to ask this question a little bit too, because I think this is important to know, because of the sense of coming back to a civilian life after your military service. It's different. I mean, there's things that you and I we can't talk about because I won't understand it. I know that. But having those other military veterans, those brothers and sisters that you have served with, who have served in the military themselves, do you have an organization that you belong to, like an American Legion or a VFW or anything along those lines, to be able to share that brotherhood that you had when you were in the service?
I'm not a part of the VFW or the American Legion, but I am. I did stay connected with a lot of my brothers and sisters that I served with. I'm also part of a group of veterans online, Infidel Incorporated, started by a couple of old grunts, and pretty much they're all about helping out vets in need. I mean, we're not as big as Wounded Warrior or anything like that. It's just something small. We kind of stick to a tight knit group, but I'm still friends with a lot of the brothers and sisters I served with. Still talk to them quite often. Um, it, it 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 helps vets to have that kind of out, I think, and I would encourage a lot of veterans, if you don't, talk to your old brothers and sisters, get a hold of them, even if it's only for a minute. It'll help you.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they would benefit from it as well. Not only you yourself, but they would definitely like to hear from you. Um, and that's a big thing, is having that resource. And there's stories every day from veteran homelessness to even veteran suicide as the deepest and darkest part of that. And it's a terrible thing to have a brother and a sister to be able to listen to or to talk to have that. Very, very important. And I'm glad that you shed light on that as well, and I'm glad that you guys are doing that. So if somebody is hearing this and they are a veteran and they are like, okay, I want to get in touch with these individuals, how do they do that?
Um, you're talking about getting in touch with older brothers and sisters like that.
Well, your organization that you're talking about, or is that just for your group, your close
Well,
group?
no, with Infidel, we do have a Facebook page,
Mhm.
Infidel Incorporated. It's just INC. It's not all spelled out. Um, like I said, it's we're not a huge group. I mean, we're probably sitting at about 1,000 members, but I mean, everybody's more than welcome to come and join. There's a couple of different Facebook pages that Infidel runs and sponsors, and it's just veterans helping veterans. Do what we can do with what we can do, because none of us are millionaires by any means.
Yeah, that is definitely an understatement. And I tell you what, we say thank you. We know that when you sign up for the military, you're not doing it to get rich, because that's not a thing. Um, but we are grateful for that service as well. And I want to give you an opportunity. We ask our veterans when they join us for this conversation to share a story that you feel comfortable with and that comes to mind about your service, whether it be a boot camp, whether it be anything else. Is there a story that you could share with us regarding your service?
There's a couple, some not so fit for television. One in particular, during boot camp, uh, everybody in boot camp. I'm not sure how it is now, but back then, you had the 12-mile road march. Was kind of like towards the end of boot camp, kind of like signifying you made it. But we happened to have our 12-miler on my 18th birthday, and the drill sergeants had made me a road guard, which is the guy who runs from the back of the formation to the front of the formation to block the road while everybody else can pass. Well, you're talking a whole company of soldiers. It's a long line of ruck marchers with a ruck on your back and running back and forth. That 12-miler was probably the worst experience of basic training ever.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it was a great birthday present. And
Yeah.
if Drill Sergeant Faust is out there anywhere, just I love you, buddy. You know,
Loves a good word to use in place of other words. I'm just
that's
kidding.
right. For lack of better terminology.
Yeah, right. Excellent. The last thing that I want to ask you then too, obviously, a lot of service, a lot of things that you learn along the line. If somebody is out there and they're thinking about joining the military, what do you think they should know about signing up for service?
It's not something to take lightly. It really isn't. But it requires, it's nothing that you know. It's nothing that you're used to. Nothing that you can get used to very quickly. Um, you can't be selfish. You have to give everything you got for the guy and the girl right next to you. Because if you don't, then it doesn't end well. Um, Selfless service is one of the terms that was used quite a bit. Loyalty. It takes a special kind of person to do that these days, especially in this day and age. Um, but if it's something you feel you can do and you've got the heart for it, go for it. Sign up. Make a difference.
Making a difference is a great way to say that. So, John, we are grateful. Like I said, the whole point of this tour is to say thank you, and we are grateful for you and your family sacrifice for us to be able to live the day that we do every single day, and that ultimately we do take for granted as well. So, we appreciate you not only serving but sharing your story with us. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you having me
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Again, your May We Thank You tour presented by Boss Services, raising the standard. Get more information about that veteran owned company as well by going to thebossservices.com.